I ain't gonna lie, y'all. This one's gonna be dark, but we can't and I ain't gonna ignore the thermonuclear elephant in the room. This needs to be discussed, and we need to do something about it. Nashville, Tennessee, the capital of the state I currently call home. With increasing tensions around the world, old rivalries between Russia and the closer relationship between Russia and China, we're entering into a second Cold War, so to speak. The first one was bad enough, but this one has us pointing bigger weapons at each other. I ain't doing this to fearmonger, but we need to know what could happen, so it's only right that I'm at a bar downtown. These people have no idea what's coming, going about their day to day lives. Shit. Thankfully, this is just a simulation on the grid, but we need to talk about what just happened. Simulating massive loss of life costs money, and I ain't got the biggest budget. What we just simulated was a surface burst of a thermonuclear weapon with a 9 megaton yield. To clarify, an air burst is a nuclear detonation where the fireball doesn't touch the ground, and a surface burst is just like it sounds, at or just above the ground. These weapons are about the mid range of what our arsenals can produce. So here's what just happened. In a couple of milliseconds, a ball of plasma hotter than the surface of the sun blinked into existence in downtown Nashville. Anything within 3 kilometers, nearly 2 miles from my fellow Americans of the detonation, this yellow circle that's above the ground is just gone, vaporized effectively, and pulverized into atomic dust, including a good part of the ground itself. Remember that bit, we'll be coming back to that. Here, that reaches out just about to Vanderbilt, right at the edge to the southwest. If anyone somehow survives this, they're in the green circle, which is the radiation radius. They just got hit with 500 rem of ionizing radiation, high energy radiation that rips electrons off atoms and smashes DNA. Radiation ain't going to give you superpowers, it'll kill you. That kind of dose will kill most people in about a month, and 15% of the people that survive will die of cancer eventually from exposure to it. I'm going to zoom out for a sec because I'm going by speed here. That flash of light right before a tiny sun formed its own little problem. If you're looking in that direction, you'll be blinded for several hours, but it also makes a heat bloom. If you're inside just over 27 kilometers, nearly 17 miles, you're catching third degree burns and everything around you is going to ignite. Forest Hills, Brentwood, Lakewood, Hendersonville, Mount Juliet, parts of Ashland City, and Franklin. Y'all are literally on fire. And if y'all avoid that, y'all still ain't safe. The next thing coming for your ass is the shock wave. See, when that fireball formed, it pushed against the air, and it's all bunched up now because it couldn't get out of the way. 20 psi is slamming into every inch of shit it hits in this red circle here. We're talking about the kind of shit that in your lifetime has only come from tornadoes and hurricanes. It'll strip buildings down to their foundations and throw you like a rag doll. The rest of Vanderbilt is dusted. Tennessee State University, Cumberland, Brooklyn Heights are leveled, along with anything else that's in here, which is almost 5 kilometers from the detonation site, just about 3 miles. But we ain't done yet. Oh, no, no, no. This grave ring here is the moderate blast damage area, around 5 psi, enough to collapse most residential buildings. And remember, y'all are already on fire, so the burning wreckage of everything within 9.5 kilometers, nearly 6 miles, is blown away. Maplewood, Fredonia, Charlotte Park, Oak Hill, Glenview, and parts of Nashville International Airport. Y'all are in a burning and collapsed building within seconds of detonation. This lighter gray circle here is the light damage radius, 1 psi. Enough to blow out windows 24.5 kilometers away from the detonation. That's just over 15 miles. So everything's on fire, and you get hit with shattered glass all the way out to most of the areas that got hit with the thermal bloom. But it still ain't over. Oh no. The shockwave shoved miles worth of air out of the way, and now it's coming back, bringing in more oxygen with it, and fans the flames that are going to make them bigger and spread faster. This is going to make that mushroom cloud we're all familiar with. That pulverized dust and shit I mentioned earlier, that's now irradiated And with the prevailing winds in Nashville, Tennesseans ain't the only ones that are going to have a shitty day. Now we get to the fallout. That irradiated shit's going to rain down. Kentucky is going to get the worst of it, with 1,000 rads per hour raining down on the red area. Lexington will get 100 rads per hour. Lancaster's at the edge of the next zone getting 10 rads per hour. And 1 rad per hour will reach as far as Canton, Ohio. With a 15 mile per hour wind, it'll be there within the day. Radiation sickness and cancer for everyone. Any survivors of the blast north of it are essentially fucked, since the fallout will follow them, and to the south y'all got a better chance, but you're still probably dead. Hospitals will be at capacity pretty quick, just from injuries at the outer limits, and almost everyone will be on their own. No one is going to be able to get to you. The leftover radiation will be too risky, even if there weren't blocked roads and collapsed infrastructure. Communication, water, electricity, food supplies, and medical treatment are gone in the affected area. Casualties for Nashville, which has an average of over 800,000 people in it on any given day in the 1 PSI zone, come out to just over 300,000 deaths and nearly 235,000 injured. Just over 327,000 managed to walk away from this more or less okay. And even without the fallout, an airburst at 6.5 kilometers up is just as bad, if not worse. That's just one of these monsters. One. It would take an exchange of only 100 of these things to cause the death of every large animal on the planet from nuclear winter caused by all the dust and debris thrown in the atmosphere, blocking out the sun, virtually halting photosynthesis, and dropping the global temperature about 30 degrees, sending the planet back into an ice age we wouldn't be likely to survive. And there are tens of thousands of these disasters held in arsenals globally, enough to wipe every major city off the map and still have thousands left over. To loosely quote Captain America, a handful of nations are holding a gun to everyone on the planet and calling it protection. That's a mob boss level of bullshit right there. In 2017, most of the world signed a treaty to ban the manufacture and stockpiling of these weapons, but none of the nations that have them signed it. North Korea agreed with the idea, but why should they put down their gun in an international Mexican standoff? 5 or 6 nations hold the fate of the world in their hands, and 2 of the biggest guys on the field are us and Russia. This position of mutually assured destruction is unsustainable. Hell, there are a handful of close calls caused by everything from malfunctions to some guard thinking that someone had entered a base and sabotaged weapons, when the thing in question was a fucking bear. And that's just the ones we know about. As a citizen of these countries, you know what? No, scratch that. As people who call this one rock we have home, I don't want the constant threat of death hanging over me and my family. It's time we all agreed globally that this bullshit position has to end. These war crimes waiting for a place need to be dismantled and never built again before we kill everyone, including billions of innocent people in nuclear fire. I got one more thing to say about this. As a Marine, we get it drilled into us. Honor, courage, and commitment. There is no honor in ending the lives of hundreds of thousands of people in a single strike. Do the people over these things have the courage to say no? The commitment to do the right thing and not murder thousands? Military folks know that there's such a thing as an unlawful order, and I ain't just talking about the U.S. I don't see it happening, but if anyone from other nations like China and Russia or any of the other nuclear powers, even in the U.S., see this, I want you to ask yourselves if you can live with the knowledge that you, with the turn of a key and the push of a button, ended the lives of nearly 500,000 innocent civilians and committed what any sane person would call a war crime. I don't think saying I was just following orders is going to cut it when people who are affected by these things run across you. I don't care what nation you call home. If you're the one giving the order, or if you're the one pushing the button to unleash one of these monstrosities. In my mind, you're all culpable if even one of these things is let loose, and I don't care who fires first. We all live on this world. We're all Terrans, Earthlings, or whatever you want to call us. We all live, and we all bleed, and we all rely on this planet to survive. We have our differences, yeah. None of them warrant the senseless destruction of our fellow humans or the planet. And that's all these things are good for. It's time to stop holding each other hostage. It's time to grow up and work together to explore and do things like colonize the moon and Mars. We've got it in us to do better. And it's time to find common ground instead of trying to kill each other over petty differences.